Hey guys and gals and others, welcome back to my YouTube channel and podcast review. We talk about movies, TV shows, and video games. And today, we will discuss a Peacock original called Angelyne, a biopic comedy documentary series about the first ever influencer billboard model through 1970 to the 80s and the breakthrough in the early 90s, directed and produced by Nancy Oliver and Allison Miller. The biopic documentary series both establishes the adventures and dangers of Angelyne, the billboard model, and what she had to face during her starting career, her rising career, and her downfall. One thing I loved about the show was Emmy Rossum playing Angelyne. She did a phenomenal job in the role, and I would love to see Emmy get more roles, honestly. Her craft in acting is really phenomenal. Another thing I liked is the show captures her music career and her stardom of it showcasing her rock band first and her single song being Kiss Me LA, which I've heard a couple of times in actually films, in background films as music. But besides that, I love the journey that we get through fame and being an influencer, from being a singer, then leaving the band to create an image by making executive deals with billboard executives and brands, and her aura and her lifestyle as an influencer. But unfortunately, like all things, it must come to an end. With her fame starting up, instead of capitalizing off of being an influencer, Angelyne realized she has nothing within her genre of fame. So yes, of course, she does some things, but not enough to stay in the spotlight, really. This causes her to lose fame, managers, people, even her team productions, and people that we thought were her friends. I love how they captured this biopic by making it intriguing to watch, somewhat funny within the realm of Hollywood and LA, but at the same time, during episodes 4 through 5, it took a darker theme and approach by showcasing her life outside of fame, how she became Angelyne, and it turns out she was actually married beforehand, but with the want of fame and her mother unfortunately dying from cancer and dealing with the abusiveness within her dad, she fled to LA. One thing I noticed within the show is it somewhat symbolizes trauma a lot. For example, episode 5, the last episode, Angelyne would often be abused by her dad and get locked into a closet. And throughout my wonders of psychology, I noticed that if a younger child or person is abused frequently and locked in small spaces, it could cause actually self-identity disorder. So I somewhat wonder if Angelyne is a manifestation of the actual woman named Rona Tamer Goldberg, sorry if I messed that up, made, and to cope with the stress of being abused. It would make sense of why the character never really opened up about her personal life, and nothing revealed into showcasing her early life. A few things I didn't like about the series, I wish it was showcased more, is how she was getting the money within her clothing brand, managers, even the music and modeling gigs. It was never showcased, which is somewhat disappointing because a lot of biopics do showcase it, like Ray and What's Love Got to Do with It, and this one just didn't. Another disappointment I found was the downfall of Angelyne's fame and loss of people, even the death of her lover, which quote-unquote allegedly was her cameraman. I wish to saw a more darker, mature visuals within the TV show. For example, I would have liked to see more of a downfall of her taking a darker approach, even showcasing how being in Hollywood at the time was toxic and sometimes dangerous. Even though I wanted it to be everything to be factual, they wanted to make everything factual, I kind of would have liked to saw some fictional stuff. As if it was for me, what I would have done is I would have showcased how her sexual nature and aura, and how people outside of her view her, by showcasing how some people loved her and loved her body and her aura, and how some people hated her for her body, which they do showcase in episode 3, I believe, when she's on a talk show, but I wish to saw more of it in the public eye. Now, one thing I do want to say is that I did like how they did showcase a lot about how she was, after all, considered the most desirable bombshell of the 80s, and I would have liked to saw a more disturbed and dark themes of being of us exploring this within the episodes. I give it a 9.5 out of 10. Great storytelling, amazing fashion sense, and the makeup design is on point. I would have liked darker themes in the stories and obviously more episodes, but at the end of the day, it was still amazing and worth watching again and again, most definitely. Now time for the essential question of the day. The essential question of the day is if Angelyne is a villain or a protagonist. In today's video, we'll be discussing both of them, how she is a villain and protagonist. But first, we will be covering her villainization. You can consider her a villain in different perspectives of the TV show. For example, in the beginning of episode 1, it showcased to us how she was in a band and started in a band, and caused mayhem within the band partners by showcasing how their focus and their image became about her. It caused the band leaders to leave, and Corey, possibly her boyfriend, lost all his friends, and after a while, Angelyne uses him for his band and stardom of fame. And with Corey being dependable and addicted to her throughout the course of the 70s. She got his stardom before her by getting his billboard first and making his hit cover song first before Angelyne. This caused Angelyne to become jealous and break up by destroying his guitar. I love this scene because it captures the cinematography and it mirrors their relationship duo between the differences of them being together. And after that, he cheats on her and she leaves. Now, of course, from him cheating on her, that's wrong, of course. But because of the dependability, this causes him to get hooked onto drugs and start an addiction and go through a downward spiral within himself, and by going to rehab and losing himself ultimately. And Angelyne got her fame and of the music success. Not only does she do this on purpose and leave him, in episode 3 and 4, Angelyne's ex-husband comes into town during her breakthrough of fame to explain how he feels hurt for leaving him unannounced and to let everything go. She hurts him even more by not even acknowledging how he feels and explaining it was a fantasy to her and it meant nothing to her, which is sad to be honest. Another example of her villainization character is once again showcased in episode 3 and 4. She constantly bothers the billboard manager to put her image on buildings by interrupting his family life and within his children and his wife. And by the billboard manager, he puts all his focus onto her. This causes his wife to go mad and get jealous of him and ruin the billboard's manager's marriage within his wife, and ruins his daughter's life. Because of the lack of boundaries Angelyne didn't intend on doing, Angelyne's fame caused the billboard manager's daughter to lose her show because of the cancellation and loss of fame. Not only did Angelyne cross boundaries within her managers, she came into contact of destroying and causing mayhem and breaking family ties because of her own self-greed and pride. Now time for the essential hero. Now, considering being possibly Angelyne a hero, we can consider her a hero because under the circumstances of her traumatic events of being abused by her father she went through, she still made it out the gutter, becoming a successful person in her career by trying to have determination and strength within her image, by becoming famous and powerful for being nothing and an influencer. We can consider her both, actually. I just wanted to do an essential series question because I thought it would be interesting for this type of video. Comment below what you think. And that is it on the Alien Review.